Hi guys, sorry for the late post today. There's just a few quick things that I want to talk about in relation to your problem solution essay. The first thing I want to talk about is the empirical research. We went over this a bit yesterday, but at the end of the day today, I'm going to ask you to record the results of your research. So I'm going to ask for about half a page that just tells me what you found out from your research. I won't have that be due tomorrow. It can be due the next day, so you can have 2 days to work on this, but start working on it today. The second thing I want to talk about is the outline. We're just going to do the outline for the problem section for the beginning of the problem solution essay. There's a few things to cover, and then tonight you will outline those first 2 or 3 paragraphs. That will be due tomorrow. Okay, so let's get started. For the empirical research, there's 3 kinds: an interview, a survey, or an observation. We talked a little bit about these yesterday, but I just wanted to highlight the strengths and weaknesses of both of them. Of all of them. So the interview, you already know, focuses on a person or subject that has unique experience. And we talked about the different ways you can be an expert. So it could be life experience, it could be academic experience, or it could be job experience. But you're looking for somebody who's different than you, who has some kind of knowledge that you don't already have or that you can't already guess. You start with in-depth questions, so not questions that you can answer yes or no to. They need to be open-ended. And the purpose is to get the subject to describe things or tell stories about that unique experience that they have. This is really good for getting interesting anecdotes or personal experiences. You know from the last essay that talking about personal experiences is very persuasive. It's one form of pathos. So telling somebody's story is often going to be something that's going to help your readers really understand a problem or an issue. Typically, this is a great way to get quotes. So you're looking for something that they say really well, better than you can say it yourself. When you're doing the interview, aim for one strong respondent, one person to respond who has that unique experience, and you're looking for 7 to 10 in-depth questions. Okay, the survey then focuses on a group of people or subjects, and you usually want to target based on the issue. So you're looking at a specific race, a specific gender, age, group, class group, something like that, so that you can get the best response for your issue. If you're just looking for general public opinion, then you want a variety of those things. So you want to make sure you have multiple races and multiple genders, multiple ages, and multiple classes. This needs to include short, quick questions, because in a survey, you're trying to get the most amount of results, so you want to make it really quick and easy for the respondents. This is useful for getting real numbers or statistics, and you can start to compare and contrast across groups. So you will take your raw results and turn them into a percentage or some kind of numerical statistic. You want at least 10. 10 is the very smallest, but the more respondents you have, the better. And I would say 5 to 7 real short questions, short answer, multiple choice, rating something on a scale, perhaps of like 1 to 5, 5 is the best, or 1 to 10. So you're trying to get a big overview of a population. The last one is an observation. This is simply where you observe something happening. So it focuses on an activity or event related to your issue. The observer is trying to understand how people or objects behave in different environments. So if I was going to focus on activities on campus, I might sit in front of the cafeteria and watch just for an hour and see what kinds of things different people do. It includes a focus question that the observer wants to answer, like what kind of activities do people do on campus, but it's not centered on questions this time. It's mostly centered on describing details or identifying patterns. So as a person in the scene, you can really explore those 5 senses and talk about all of the different details. You can see something that's happening over time, and you can say, oh, maybe there's a cause and effect happening here, or maybe there's some kind of comparison happening here. This is really, really good for getting rich details because you're focusing on those sensory details and real life examples. And again, we know that those are persuasive. So when you're doing this, you should aim for about an hour of observation and about 1 to 2 pages of notes. So what you're going to do tonight is actually conduct your empirical research. I'd like you to record your results or your chart in a table. And if you have questions about that, please bring them to class today so that we can talk about exactly how that looks. But if you have an interview, you might have 2 columns, one with your questions and one with your answers. If you're doing a survey, you might have some kind of chart or table. If you're doing an observation, again, you would have 2 columns. One was exactly what you saw, and second was like some of the details about it. But the thing that I want you to remember is to add your analysis of the importance of the responses and what they mean. So sort of paraphrase them or summarize them, explain why this is important. You need to take that raw data and do some critical thinking with it and say, what kind of information did I actually get from this answer? Okay, so I'm going to ask you to draft up a half page of your results in a chart or table, but please don't forget the analysis. That part is very important. And in fact, I'm going to highlight it so that you guys don't forget it. I'm going to highlight it in my favorite color. Okay, so this is one thing that you're working on, and this might take a little bit of time, especially if it's a survey or an interview. So this will not be due Thursday morning, this will be due Friday morning. But in the meantime, we can start working on the outline. This is a problem solution essay, and sometimes we see it called not just problem solution, but problem solution benefits. If you want to think of it in 3 sections, we're just going to focus on the problem right now. The solution section is going to explain the steps or exactly like what the details of the solution are. And then the majority of the essay is the benefits. So why is this the best solution? What is this going to do for humanity? How is it going to help people? So right now we're just focusing on the problem, and it has 4 main characteristics. I left a big space here because I think there's a good space for a paragraph break there. So if you want to think of this as like maybe 2 separate paragraphs, that might be a good idea. The first thing you're going to do, of course, is to include a hook to grab the reader's interest. And we covered 4 different kinds of hooks last week. Please don't start with a definition. Just starting with a definition is not a bad thing, but what happens is that students often define terms that everyone already knows. So I have students in my Comp 2 class who are defining what self-esteem is. I think everyone in this group in a college level class already knows what self-esteem is, so we don't need a dictionary definition of that. But you want to start with your hook to get your reader interested in the topic. And then the first paragraph is mostly focusing on what is happening. What is the problem? What exactly prompted you to want to solve this issue? What is the main problem that's causing all of this? Then you can start to analyze that problem. And analysis will usually focus on causes. So our textbook, I don't think you have this chapter, but our textbook starts with a concept map that has the problem in the center, and then you can make little spokes off of it that have to do with causes. But remember to look for major causes and minor causes. Once you have the cause, like if I was looking at activities on campus, maybe one of the causes is that there's no student interest. That would be a major cause. But I also need to look at minor causes. What is causing students not to be interested? So what is causing my causes, kind of? My major causes directly relate to the problem, but my minor causes led to those major causes. So I know that sounds a little bit confusing, but if you kind of look at it as a chain of causation, where one thing is causing something else, is causing something else, is causing something else. And if you start to trace it back, you can get to those more minor causes instead of just the major causes. Either way, this paragraph is going to list a few important causes why the problem is happening. So what you're focusing on here is what is happening, and then a few reasons why it's happening. This would be a good place to have a paragraph break and start your second paragraph. And your second paragraph is going to stress the importance of the topic. So this probably has to do with effects. Why is this important? Well, it's going to lead, this problem could lead to another effect, another effect, another effect. You might think about why people should care about this topic, and that would lead you to some effects. So you can see that the details of this paragraph are just going to be a few of the important effects. So first of all, what is the problem and why is it happening? And then why is it important? Because what could it lead to? At the end of the second paragraph, which would be the end of our introduction area, you're going to state your thesis. And this should be a straightforward statement that summarizes your solution. So you want to end this introduction with your solution, and that works as a transition into the solution section. So once we name the solution, then we can move on and start talking about it. The rest of the essay is going to focus on explaining that solution, how it will work, and the benefits it will bring. So for tonight's homework, I just want you to outline those two paragraphs. The final essay for this section shouldn't be longer than 1 page. So we're just looking for 2 strong paragraphs, or maybe even 3 shorter paragraphs. And I've given you like a natural breaking space right there. So if you want to think of this as your first paragraph, your hook, and a few reasons, a few things that are causing the problem. And then if you want to think of this as your second paragraph, a few effects and your thesis. So they're kind of like mirror images of each other, because this is only going to be a single sentence, and this is going to be a list, and then you're going to do the reverse, a list, and then a single sentence. Okay? Please write down any questions that you have and bring them to class with you today so that we can talk about this. I want to make sure everybody understands it and everybody's feeling really good about their topic. So I will see you guys in just a few minutes. Bye.